What is shaking, everybody? Today we're gonna have Brent Jones on in about a half an hour. We'll talk to him about the Niners moving forward, Brock Purdy, NFL season, Debo Samuel, whatever. We'll just get into a lot of stuff with Brent. I've had him on for 20 years, so we'll get a chance to talk to him for a little bit. A couple things before we get going. We'll do a little 30 minutes, a little bit on the NFL, a little bit on the NBA, kind of whatever pops into our head. For those that are wondering, we did crack open a beverage today. This is Russian River Road 2 Hill 56. It's one of my favorite pale ales. I love pale ales, and you're going to see a lot of beers that are featured on the show. And this is one of my favorites. So, and God dang. Oh, I broke it. I broke the bat off. Oh no. Oh no. I broke the bat. Oh, sorry, Franny. That was Kevin Franzen's bobblehead. And I busted the bat. God dang. I could do a snide joke like it's more realistic now. You don't have a bat in your hand. That would be horrible because I love Franny. Franny's one of my favorites. Dude, I'm sorry. I can't believe I busted your bat. Dude, it's like the kite card. Remember the kite card, the Dwayne Kuiper card where he holds it and he has a broken bat? That's one of my favorite cards of all time. That and one in Billy Ripken, the fuckface card. That's my favorite card of all time. For those that don't know, Billy Ripken, Cal Ripken Jr.'s brother, they're on the same team. And one of his Topps cards, he's holding the bat, bat over the shoulder, and on the knob, it says fuckface on it. And I always wondered if that was a setup, just because it was perfect, like you could read it perfectly, and it was not only just legible, but it seemed to be right side up. And the kite bat, I think it was like a goof. It was just joking around. And that's the one they used on a card. I have it in my drawer somewhere. I don't really collect cards. I have a few cards. My buddy Todd gave me some cards for my birthday one year. It's a Dan Fouts card and a Dan Marino card. And I have those somewhere too. Those are like my two favorite quarterbacks growing up. Dan Fouts, probably number one. Eric Coryell, him and John Jefferson and Wes Chandler and Charlie Joyner and Muncie and Kellen Winslow. I love those Eric Coryell teams. They were awesome. They had to score 40 to win, though, basically. They had no defense whatsoever. Tom Bass. I think it was Tom Bass. Or was it Dick Bass? I think it was Tom Bass, their defensive coordinator. It was all pitted out after the second quarter because he's like, oh, God, it's going to be another long day. It's going to be another long day. So, God dang. Can't believe, Franny, I busted your bat, pal. I am so sorry. Still a sweet little bobblehead. The only reason I busted it because we couldn't get your head to bobble. I don't know what the heck was going on here. I don't know. It's very, you need to see a chiropractor or something. It's very tight. Your neck very tight. I give you a little massage there. Yeah, whatever. We're going to save the bat, though. We'll put it right there. Like a broken bat single or something. We'll throw it there. And for those that have wondered, especially since you don't see me on TV a lot, I have a white circle on the side of my head, and it's just it's a perfect circle. Not the Maynard band, the offshoot of Tool, perfect circle, just a perfect white circle. And my wife said, you should get a tattoo. Like there's something, like kind of shade it, like color it in, so it matches the rest of your face. And I said, so ugly? And she said, no, not ugly. So I don't even know if I can get a tattoo because the skin's pretty thin, because they got it from, where'd they get it from? All right, I think I got a tattoo or a scar right there. But yeah, I had it was like a basal cell cancer there that they had to take out, that they thought was a cyst, so they let it go on too long and it got big. It actually looked like I wish I had the picture. I would show it to you. You'd be disgusted, but it looked like a bullet hole in the side of my face where I was shot, or where the cyst was, or I mean, it was ugly. It was gross. So I had to get the whole thing taken out. So now I'm thinking about getting Obviously I'll have to consult my wife on this, but I was like, because it looks like I fell asleep for 4 days and somebody used the side of my head as a coaster. They just put like a coffee mug there. You know what it looks like? You know when you leave something in the grass for like a week and then you like take it off the grass and the grass around it's green and then the grass under it's dead? That's what it looks like. It looks like I laid out in the sun and somebody covered my head for like a week and I have a white spot, a white circle, and then my face. So I was thinking it'd be cool to get like a tattoo, but I don't want to get like a tattoo just in the circle there because then it looks like a commemorative plate. Like if I had Elvis in there, like an Elvis plate, I mean, my aunt would love it, but I'm not sure. You know those plates you get when you go to the amusement parks or something? Like you get like a Mickey and Minnie and Daisy and Donald, one of those type of deals. And I thought about throwing it out there, but I'm not throwing it out there to you goofs because you guys are gonna be like, "Oh, get a butthole. That'd be incredible." No, I'm not gonna get a butthole on the side of my face. Okay. I mean, there is something funny about that, but I think a butthole would wear out after about 3 days. Like the fourth day of a butthole on the side of your face, you're like, bro, I got a butthole on the side of my face. That's just brutal. Although speaking of buttholes, I did threaten to get a tattoo of a spider crawling out of my ass one time, but not like fully, just kind of like 3 legs coming out, like it was actually coming out. And my wife's like, no, absolutely not. You're not getting a spider crawling out of your ass. That's just not going to happen. So, eyeball was one that I thought about. But that's so it's got to be something that, and like I said, I don't want it to be just the circle because then it's commemorative plate time. I don't want a commemorative plate. I don't know. I need to get it above and below the white spot. But then am I Mike Tyson? Like, do I have the Maori thing going on? It's just like, so I don't even know. But I'm kind of getting sick of the white, to be honest. And I was thinking, what can I do? What can I do with the side of my face? How about like just the sun or the moon, like a nice crescent moon? I don't know. There's got to be something that I could put. And no, I'm not going to sell it. I mean, I know I love beer, but I'm not going to get like a beer logo, like my favorite beer brand, put in the side of my head. I could be like a walking billboard for everybody. I guess I could charge like a decent rate though, and walk it around, have like a beer stamp on the side of my head. And I'm not a huge. I mean, you would think probably by looking at me, you might think he might have a fair amount of tattoos. I mean, I kind of look like a tattoo guy. The Fu Manchu, people were thinking, oh, he's a biker. I'm not. I just mess around with facial hair because I have no hair. I have no other hair on the top of my head. But I have one tattoo. That's it. And I went and got it. And the only reason I got it was I was in LA playing for the Clippers and I was bored. And it hurt like hell. And it wasn't even that big a deal. It's just like a small kind of tattoo. It was the logo of No Fear, the t-shirt company. It wasn't just a t-shirt company, but No Fear brand. And I was like, God, this sucks, man. And put a needle in. I don't want to do this again. So I was like, I'm not getting any more tattoos. I'm not going to get any more tattoos, but I might, you know. Oh, you know what? What about like, you know how they show the graphics sometimes when you're watching a movie or like where they have it's like something gets clawed, like a tiger claw across your face, and you got like shredded up. Like that might be, it's kind of hard to come up with something on your face. You're like, oh, yeah, I like that. I like that. Maybe I could do this. I just saw this up here. How about this? The stress reducer ball. And put that logo on the side. Keep calm and move the fuck on. Nah, maybe not. I'll put that back up there. So yeah, maybe at some point we'll get into that. I mean, I don't mind you go ahead and throwing, but I'm not doing like a contest. Oh, you're the winner. We'll get that on the side of your face. But anyway, I do want to get into some football. But first, I want to get into a little bit of basketball because we're going to get football to talk to Brent Jones. But I wanted to get into a little bit of basketball. Last night, Luka goes back down to LA, or Luka is in LA. Mavericks come to LA, and the game didn't interest me as much as it would have if Dallas were whole, right? If they had any part of their front line, which they do not have. So it would have been a more competitive game, even though it was a competitive game. But I would have thought, okay, let's see how they look with AD on the Mavericks and Luka on the Lakers. And Lakers win. Luka gets a triple double. And this one right here is beautiful. That's Nico Harrison, the GM who traded Luka. And it looks like Luka's looking right at him. Maybe he's not, maybe he is. I'm not sure. I just want to know what the hell Nico Harrison's doing there. Like I would have said, I'm gonna skip this one. We're gonna go ahead and skip this game, but I'll give him credit. Man up, show up, and go to the game. If you're planning on going to the game, then go ahead and go to the game. But man, again, I'll reiterate what I said Monday. You better be right on that one. You better be right on that one because that dude's pretty good. He's special. He may not fit your prototype as far as work ethic and eating habits and all those sort of things, but damn, those things could be worked on. Like anybody could do that, right? Anyone could say, I'm going to eat better, or I'm going to lift a little bit more. I'm going to be in a little better shape, but you can't do the things Luka could do. Luka's he's just one of those guys. Man, every sport has a few of them. They're just special. They're just different. Their DNA is different. You can't work to get to that. You have something or you don't have something. And now, if he wants to be one of the greats of all time, then it comes down to working. Because that's the one thing, Michael Jordan had, LeBron has, Steph has, Kobe had. It's an insatiable desire to be the best. And that consumed them, just consumed them. Like, I want to be the best. And I don't know if Luka has that yet. But if he does get that, if he ever comes into camp like looking great shape, because he's already great. I mean, but if he wants to be historic, if he wants to be one of the best ever, because that's what those guys have in common. It's the God-given ability that they're going to have, and then this incredible work ethic to find out how good they can be. From diet to running to lifting to sleeping, just everything consumes them. Jerry Rice that way. I mean, Jerry Rice that was kind of way ahead of the time too. But, Jerry Rice, great God-given ability and just incredible, ungodly work ethic. I'm going to find out how great I can be. And I'm going to do everything in my power to find out how great I can be. I don't think Luka's on that level yet, but if Luka ever gets to that level, then forget it. That trade's going to look even dumber. And again, the only way the trade doesn't look dumb. And I don't want to denigrate Anthony Davis because I think he's a fantastic player. He really is. He's probably a top 5 to 8 player in the game this year. And if he's healthy, he's a top 10 guy, easy. But the problem is he hasn't been healthy, and then he goes there and gets hurt. But it's not about him. It's about trading just an incredible talent. Just a guy that can do what others can't do. So, and then look, we'll talk a lot about the NBA, especially as we get closer to the playoffs. I'll let you know this right now. In my estimation, there are 3 teams that go win a championship. 3: Boston, Cleveland, OKC. That's it. I'm not saying I won't feel different in a week. I won't feel different in 2 weeks. I won't feel different in a month. I might. Possibility. I mean, let's see how some of these teams look after these moves. But I just, in the East right now, I can't imagine it's anybody but those 2. Maybe the Knicks, possibly. Let's see what they look when Anunoby comes back. Anunoby's been hurt. I don't think he's been back yet. And they've been a little bit dinged up, but they might have a shot. Problem is, I don't know if you can get through Boston and Cleveland. And I think that's going to be your Eastern Conference Finals. But if you're in the 2 or 3 hole, then you got to go through both of those teams, and that's really tough. So, and in the Western Conference, like it's a little bit of a toss-up. OKC is the best team, clearly the best team. Who's their second guy? Jay Williams. I mean, he's really good, but is he the guy in the playoffs that if they shut down Shea, that they can go to him and he can get 20, 22 a game? I don't know that they need to. I mean, I just love their team. I love Holmgren. Williams is really good. I like Isaiah Joe coming off the bench. I like Dort as a defensive stopper. Hartenstein makes a great tandem with Holmgren. They just have depth. They get after you. Their turnover differential is historic. Like they force 6. I think last I checked, it's like 6.1, 6.2 more turnovers than they allow, which is incredible. I mean, absolutely incredible. It's like they forced 17 turnovers, turned over 11 times, 12 times, something like that. So they're clearly the best team. After that, each team, I could tell you, okay, look, the way they play, if they play at their best, they got a shot. But here are the flaws that go along with it. And so we'll get into that. All right, let's get into I don't know that anybody's really touched on this subject. I kind of wanted to be the first to dive in, and that's Brock Purdy talk, because nobody talks about Brock Purdy anymore. And they should talk about Brock Purdy because Brock Purdy is really good. It amazes me how many people are still questioning whether this guy can play. Like what he's done. Last year, I think you go by some of the numbers, he was 3rd in yards per attempt. I think it was behind Burrow and Lamar Jackson. And yards per attempt is like my favorite stat. Like that means you're throwing the ball down the field, you're hitting people in stride, they're gaining yards off your throws. I mean, and their line wasn't very good last year. It wasn't like he had a ridiculous amount of time last year to throw the ball. He's accurate. He's tough. He's a worker. And he's athletic enough to do some things with his legs as well. I don't think he's one of those guys. I've heard it said that like he's one of those guys that has to have everything be perfect for him. Like all his weapons have to be perfect. His line has to be good for him to be good. No, it's still, and I talked about this a lot last year and earlier this year, is that I think people look at him and they still can't get over the fact he's that good as a 7th rounder. It's 7th rounder, but it doesn't matter anymore. Once you get in camp, nobody cares what round you were drafted. Can you play? Are you a bust? Can you not play? Can you help us? And we'll talk to Steve Young at some point, who is really fun to talk to when you're talking about quarterbacks, specifically Niner quarterbacks. We'll talk to Brent about it too, because Brent knows a little something about quarterbacks. He caught balls from Joe Montana and Steve Young. So this guy is an elite processor. He gets through everything really quickly. He's got really good feet, really good accuracy. Yes, he will take some chances with the ball, but I kind of like that. I don't want somebody to be completely safe with the ball all the time. But you got to get over the fact he was a 7th rounder. You just have to. And you have to get over the fact he's going to get a lot of money. He just is. That's the quarterback market. That's the way it works. He'll probably end up making more than Josh Allen this year. And then when Josh Allen's up, sign again. The salary cap's gone up. He'll probably blow Brock Purdy out of the water. And he should. He's better than Brock Purdy. Like there are 5 guys right now I look at and go, okay, those guys are just, what do you need? We got it for you. They are Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow. That's it. Unless I'm missing somebody. I don't think I'm missing anybody. I mean, you got Stafford in there who's older. You're not going to give him a long-term deal. He's looking for a new deal right now. You got Herbert, who is, Herbert's really good, but look what he did in the playoffs. He hasn't proven anything yet. Love, we'll see. Goff, Hurts. But I think I tell you what, after those other 4, I could be crazy. I'll take Purdy over anybody. I'll take them all. You give me Purdy, I'll be completely happy. And some people would have Purdy like in the 11, 12 range. I would have him like right after that 4. Maybe Stafford, because Stafford I think is better, but Stafford's older. But after that, do you want Love instead of Purdy? Okay, I get it. I don't. Do you want Hurts ahead of Purdy? Okay, I don't. You want Goff ahead of Purdy? Okay, I don't. Herbert? Maybe. That's one. But still, what did they know? Lawrence? What's Lawrence done? Lawrence looks the part, and I think Lawrence could be a guy. Great hair, incredible hair. But I mean, do you want Lawrence? Do you think like Lawrence? And here's why you would want Lawrence. Not just because the hair, which is stunning, but he was in first overall pick. Like first overall picks always get more opportunities because they're first overall picks. Oh, there's got to be something in there. What did we see in college? Oh my gosh, look at huge arm, right? Huge arm. Looks the part. 6'4", 6'5", just looks like a quarterback. Purdy doesn't like necessarily look like a quarterback. Like he was the last pick in the draft, and I think people still hold on to that. Like it's hard for them to. Like I had a stat last year where I mentioned yards per attempt. Last year he had over 9 yards per attempt, and this is EPA. And like I'm not going to try to explain EPA to you. I think it's expected points added or something like that. Is the play successful, and how successful is it, or is it not successful? And for lack of a better term, how not successful is it? He was 11th, I believe, which is okay, but you're still top half of the quarterbacks. But last year, he wasn't even great last year. Last year, I think, is like a down year because last year was goofy for the Niners, right? Ayuk, hold out. Trent Williams, hold out. Christian McCaffrey is hurt. He comes back. Then other guys get hurt. And then this guy's out. And that guy, it was just a year, kind of a year from hell. And you could tell early on that it just wasn't going to be a great season. But you look at his numbers stack up with a lot of these guys. That's quarterback rating. What was he, 13th in quarterback rating, I guess? So, I guess Jaden Daniels I'd have to throw in there too. Like Jaden, but give me at least another year of Jaden Daniels. I hate when people make a decision after 1 year. Oh, this guy's incredible. Yeah, he was incredible that year. Let's see how he is the following year. But I could be overrating Purdy, but he's going to get paid, and he should get paid. And for those of you that think, oh, maybe he'll sign for $40 million a year, why would he do that? I mean, look at his numbers. He went to a Super Bowl. All right. This guy took the Niners to a Super Bowl. Did he do it single-handedly? Of course not. Did the defense help? Of course they did. Although the defense wasn't great that year. Did he have incredible weapons? Yeah. He had Kittle. He had McCaffrey. He had Ayuk. He had Debo. How come Kurt Warner never got dinged for having weapons? How come nobody ever said, well, of course, he has Bruce, Holt, Falk. I mean, of course he's going to. I think Azakim might have been a receiver on that day. How come he didn't get dinged? He didn't even get drafted. I don't remember anybody saying about Kurt Warner, well, yeah, look at the weapons he has. Of course he's going to do well. No. And if they did, I don't remember it. But Kurt Warner had one thing that Brock Purdy doesn't have. Kurt Warner looks like a quarterback, right? He's big. He has a big arm. Like he fits the prototype of a quarterback. Peyton Manning. Do you ever remember anybody saying, oh, well, of course Peyton Manning is going to be good. He has Reggie Wayne. He has Marvin Harrison. He has Edgerrin James. He has Dallas Clark. Of course, look what he has. Of course, no, because he was the number 1 pick overall, and he was supposed to be good. So he made them better. But Peyton Manning had great weapons. Do you think any quarterback's going to say to you, I don't want good weapons because I don't get the credit. I did just give me mediocre weapons, and then it's all, no, you're going to take the best you can get. And yes, but did they help Purdy? Of course they helped Purdy. But did Purdy help them? Of course Purdy helped them. So my whole thing is, and then a good buddy of mine, Bergie, who we may have on the show at some point, is Monte Vista football coach. Won, I think it was 3-4 championships there at Monte Vista. I mean, he really knows his stuff, football, and I always enjoy talking to him. But, I was talking to him, and he was saying you could franchise him. And I thought about it, and I go, yeah, you could. You have him for 3 more years. But then it just becomes, one of those situations where you wait him out, and then he's not super happy, and then you have maybe a locker room that's not super. But I get it. Like I get that, and that is their right if they decide they want to do that. But I would just assume just get it done. I mean, do you want to go 60 million, Dak Prescott? No, you don't. And hopefully Purdy's smart enough to figure out, like, I'm going to leave some for the rest of the team as well. Leave some for an offensive line. Leave some so I have some weapons. You look at the fact that Brady was the guy that always took less. But Brady was getting so much money elsewhere too. But what's your goal? To get the most or win? And not to say you can't do both, but it's harder when you got to spread everything around. Look at the Seahawks. They won when Russell Wilson wasn't making as much. Russell Wilson was making more money. They had to cut guys. They had to get rid of some guys. And the defense took a hit. The team went down. And then they didn't win another one after they won one. They beat Denver and lost to the Patriots. So I don't know, but I would expect it's going to be in the 50s. So if you think it's going to be low, if you think Brock Purdy is like a middle of the pack quarterback, like as a Niner fan, like Niner fans, sometimes you kill me. Like, yeah, I want him, but I don't want him for this much. Like, you fucking found a quarterback. You know how hard it is to find a quarterback in the NFL? You realize how hard it is. They screwed up. Well, they didn't screw up, but Trey Lance was brutal. Let's be honest. I didn't mind the fact they picked him because they were 12th and they wanted to get up and get him. Okay, fine. And then you got your ass saved by getting Brock Purdy last pick in the draft. You found a quarterback that can get you to a Super Bowl. And people were like, well, yeah, I don't know. No. People are like jumping through hoops and trading picks to jump up in the draft, getting quarterbacks they have no idea are going to be any good or not. It's all speculative. Like you have one now. As Teddy KGB says, pay that man his money. Okay? Pay him his money. I don't know how much that is, but whatever it is, you need a quarterback. You don't win without a quarterback. You do not win in this league without a quarterback. The only two instances I can think of where the quarterback was just okay, where they won a Super Bowl, was Brad Johnson, Trent Dilfer. That was it. And what do those two teams have in common? Great running games, great defenses. And the quarterback was like, hey, just do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And I'm not saying that Trent Dilfer wasn't good that year. Brad Johnson was as well. But they were not the marquee. They were not on the billboard at all. They were not the star. And they weren't even at the end of the movie where they said, and starring. They weren't even that guy. They're in the middle somewhere. And that's fine. It just doesn't happen a lot. You better have a guy. The 49ers have a guy. I think you might want to keep that guy. So that's just me. Do we have Brent? We do? Where is Brent? How come I can't see Brent? Aren't we going to be able to see Brent? Uh-oh.
Hey.
Oh, there he is. There's my guy. Oh, look at you. Bro, that painting is nice.
Dude, don't you have a painting of yourself in your office?
No, but I do have. You can't see because it has glare on it. Bob Sargent with the 49ers, who was I've known him since KBR days. He sent me, is nice enough to send me a Tolbert 28 jersey, signifying the years that I was at KBR. So I have a jersey,
dude,
but no,
legit.
No, but no, yours, man, the light's gonna fall. No, but yours is legit. You got that. I mean, like, I don't have one of me like you do of you. And then I can't, bro. Cowboy hat? Are you serious?
Me, dude. I live in Texas.
I know, but come on,
I'm even trying to grow Fu Manchu like you. You're my hero.
Getting there.
Yeah, it's something. My wife had that done for me though, because I get on a Zoom call and it's like, oh, what's that picture in the background? What? You mean you don't have a painting of yourself?
That's nice. No, that's nice though. For those that don't know, this is Brent Jones. Brent, we've been doing this 20 years.
Yep.
On KMBR, like once a year or once a week, we used to do it. And Brent has won a number of Super Bowls and Pro Bowls and All Pros. And I think we decided. I say he's tight end 1B in 49er history. I don't know how he'd rank himself, but him and George Kittle. But you've had incredible success playing, incredible success off the field when you got done playing football. And now for some reason you decided to move to Texas. I don't know. Did it have anything to do with taxes?
Yeah, maybe just a little bit.
How you been? I miss talking to you, man.
Dude, we talked a little bit, but we haven't officially talked on the air, and this is awesome. I'm psyched for you. I'm psyched to be on. This is going to be a blast for you.
No, you're the inaugural guest.
Come on, seriously?
You're the first guest that we've had on the show. Of course, I had to have one of the regulars.
Well, you had to have a regular.
So yes. And guess what? I'm going to be calling you frequently too, especially during the football season.
Can I swear?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Please.
Hell yeah.
Try it on.
Huh? Hell yeah. That's my bet. I don't want to go nuts.
Are you serious? I told you, yes, you can swear, and you said, hell yeah? What?
I just want to make you laugh.
Okay, look, let's try it one more time. 1, 2, 3. Fuck!
Jeez. Yo, dude, I'm not.
1, 2, 3.
That's bullshit, Tom. Are you kidding me? We drafted Trey Lance? That's maybe the worst pick. It's not the worst pick. It's absolutely the worst NFL pick in my lifetime. There.
Come on. The worst?
The worst.
Wow, worse than Jamarcus Russell?
The worst.
Well, I guess because you actually had to give up 3 picks to go up there and get him.
Or worst.
2. You got one. Yeah, that was
the only saving grace is we got Jerry Jones to give us a 4th rounder.
Exactly. And now he's probably going to let him go
I think he is.
This year. Okay, so I was talking about, before he came out, I was talking about Purdy, and I want to get into a lot of NFL stuff with you, but let's talk about Purdy, because everybody wants to know, Purdy going to sign? What's Purdy worth? And I was saying, look, you found a quarterback. I don't want to say they got lucky. Let's just say fortunate, because after the Trey Lance situation, you get Purdy last pick in the draft, and this guy has gotten you to a Super Bowl. Like, he's proven, and stats say this guy is a really good quarterback, a quarterback that you're going to need to pay to keep. Why do people and not that fans will have anything to do with it, but why do people say, yeah, I'd like him, but I don't know how much I want to give the man what the market bears. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and you need a quarterback to win a Super Bowl. The 49ers are going to keep him. They've said as much, but what are your thoughts on him? Because I remember we talked earlier, Brent, maybe when he was maybe 10 games into his career, we talked about comparing him to Joe Montana a little bit, and we always made the distinction. Look, we're not saying he's Joe Montana, but there are some certain similarities to his game. What do you think of him a couple years in? Is he a guy you just pay the money and say, hey, we got our guy?
You know what, Tom? I absolutely believe that. And the reason why is it's so hard to find a guy. I mean, you look at teams, and even guys that they think are going to be good sometimes just lose it. And so with Brock Purdy, I think some weeks you get QB 3 or 4 in all the NFL, and some weeks maybe you get QB 10 or 11. But you're not getting QB 17, 18, or 19, or 27. And so when you have a guy that slides that scale, and let's face it, he's dealt with some issues relative to injuries at the skill positions, and he's hung in there. It wasn't perfect, but man, you cannot let a guy like that go, because it's so hard to find a guy, i.e. give up 3 first rounders for Trey Lance. It's just hard. And some guys come out of college and they surprise on the upside, and a lot of guys surprise on the downside. And for whatever reason, Brock Purdy was still there. We took him. He played at Iowa State and had multiple reps, which really matters. And it's about seeing the defenses. It's about processing quickly, and he gets the ball out of his hand. Is he perfect? No. But has he had a great offensive line? No. And so I 100% believe, and whether he gets 52 million or 58, it's not our money. I believe the Yorks are going to pay him. I think the 49ers understand it. I think they're on the same page as us. And it's easy to sit back and be a naysayer. Oh, he hasn't done this or he hasn't done that. You look around the league and you say, after quarterback number 10 or 11, you wouldn't want anybody else.
Yeah. Well, let me add, because I said Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow. Those are the only 4 quarterbacks you would absolutely take ahead of Brock Purdy. Like, no questions asked.
Yes.
The rest, you can argue if you want to, like Herbert, Hurts, Goff, Love. If you want to throw Lawrence in there, I would. But I would feel very comfortable having Brock ahead of all those guys. I really would. Stafford's kind of the weird one because Stafford's still really good, but he's older, so I didn't really include him.
Yep.
But there's only, put it this way, the only way I can put it is there's only 4 quarterbacks in the game that absolutely I would take ahead of Brock Purdy. The rest, I would probably take Brock, but it's up for discussion. Maybe about 6 or 7 guys. How do you look at it?
I agree completely, and I wouldn't put Lawrence there. I've just been thinking about him and just saying, you know what, he hasn't really done it yet.
Yeah.
The perception is that he's there, but I watched him in too many games last year where he wasn't that guy. Gosh, you kind of look around. Goff obviously has some great skill position guys too, but he's prone to throw a pick in a big situation and still hasn't, won the big one per se. And so it's always up for debate, and I think that's great. But I just think that the 49ers, believe it or not, still have a window. And it's eventually going to close, and they're going to eventually have to pay the piper for being a team that goes aggressively after players. I mean, let's face it, they've been one of those teams, and eventually it's the talent level is going to dissipate because of the cap. And maybe that's 2 years from now, maybe it's 3 or 4, but you've got to take your shot, and you can't restart the whole thing over with a new quarterback. There's just no way. A guy that doesn't know the system, a guy that hasn't been around, a guy that doesn't have the experience. If you're talking guys coming out of college, free agent, my view in free agency is you're never getting what you think you're getting in a quarterback. We've seen Aaron Rodgers. We saw Kirk Cousins last year. I mean, it's just you're just not getting it. You're getting maybe the old guy that used to be good, but there's hair on all of those deals for sure if you're getting them. And I just don't think you would take a 37-year-old guy instead of a 26-year-old guy that's had some great experience and has been operating at a much higher level than most.
What are the top 4 positions? Let's throw quarterback out of there because quarterback is obviously number 1. But we look at the Niners right now, and Trent Williams getting a little bit older. The defensive line hasn't been quite as good. Ayuk got hurt last year, and so did McCaffrey, all that. But what are your top 4 positions? Like going into this draft or free agency, take the quarterback out. Give me the next 3. Like, you don't know who they're going to be per se, but I need to fill this position, and this position. Like, those are the critical positions to fill on a football team.
Great. I've never said this in my life, but we need an interior defensive lineman. We were giving up too much. I don't like that. Gets me so excited.
That hurt, didn't it? That hurt.
Hey, we drafted a guy. Nobody's ever heard of him, and nobody's ever seen him play. But dang it, we're excited. Take that. But we do need that, and it was very apparent last year. Short yardage situations. Fred Warner was getting linemen on him almost immediately because our interior defensive linemen were getting blown up, and so that is one thing that we have to do for sure. And whether that's a high-end guy, in the first or second round, or filling in with a couple guys in the third or fourth, but we need guys that can play and can be stout and keep linemen off our linebackers. That's number 1.
Offensive line.
Number 2 is offensive line, and it's not sexy, but we're gonna, and you know what? I think you can get guys in 3rd, 4th, 5th round that can play, that can come in and make a difference. Maybe a free agent guy that's not as big of a name that can hold the line and give us some decent pass protection and move some guys in the run game. I think that's an area of free agency where you can capitalize and make some moves versus the big sexy wide receivers or defensive backs or running backs. So those 2 areas immediately. I think our second linebacker beside Fred Warner, I'd love to sign Dre Greenlaw. We need another guy that can go sideline to sideline and keep the focus off Fred. Let him, run the field as well. And so with one linebacker that can play, it makes it tough because you can double up on that guy or do things to get him out of position. We saw that last year with the quitter Devondre.
Have you ever seen such a thing?
Nope, never have. Now I heard.
No, I'm good.
The other day, he was mad. He had all these reasons. He was popping off on social media, bro. Go away. If no one's talking about you, that's like the best thing you can have.
Exactly. Hey, you're in. No, I'm good.
We got linebacker. Shockingly, I'm going to say something. I would love another tight end. George still has gas left in the tank, and he's a great player. But it would be great to have a second tight end. Much like the Chiefs had, that can get out, get in the routes.
They got like 5 tight ends.
Man, yes.
They got these 6'4" white dudes running around the field and just catching balls. You're like, who's that? Who's Watson? Who's Gray? Who's that? Who's that? How many tight ends do you have, Reed?
Well, they had 0 wide receivers, so they had to have 5 tight ends.
So let me ask you this then, because and you watch a little bit of college football. The Tyler Warren kid for Penn State, incredible. I mean, that game he had against USC this year, I was like, I think I might have bet USC in that game. I'm like, could somebody just guard this guy? They're throwing it to him every single time. Like literally, just put somebody on this guy. I think he had like 16 or 17 catches, which was insane.
Outrageous, yes.
But he can throw it. He lines up in the backfield. He runs it. And I just love that because it shows me he's a football player. He's versatile. He can think the game and all that. Is 11, I think they dropped 11. Is that too high? Do you need to go defensive or offensive line? Because your good friend and my good friend, Bergie, we were talking and we both said, you know what? If every single first round in the NFL draft, you took a defensive lineman or offensive lineman, I'd be okay with that because that's where the game is won. That being said, I think Warren and Kittle would be incredible together. Is that a luxury pick? Can you do that? Is it too risky to go instead of going defensive, offensive line? Because I think the Warren Kittle thing would be insane.
I agree with you. And the funny thing is, going away from my lineman picks, we need them now. That one is a little tantalizing for me. What I would say is it's not risky if you've signed a free agent offensive lineman and a defensive lineman, and not just a body, someone that can actually play and maybe not be all pro, but decent. Then you can take that swing. I think if you got at least one of those positions covered, and then you've got some guys targeted in rounds 2, 3, 4, because this guy from Penn State, Warren, could be generational, and he can be anywhere and do anything. And so it creates a real problem for teams with a second tight end because you've already got your receivers, you got your running back, and you've got Kittle. And so who's even accounting for the second tight end, right? And you don't say, hey, whatever you do, we got to take the second tight end away. So it's a great mismatch opportunity, I think. And it'd be great to have somebody that can do some damage. And that's why you saw I felt like Gray from the Chiefs every time I watched a game down the stretch was catching more passes than Kelsey.
Why is it? Now, I think I know the answer to this, but I want to get your read on it. Why is it that fans still think maybe the Niners should get rid of Kyle Shanahan? Like, I don't want to give you all the reasons. Because the Warrior fans want to get rid of Steve Kerr occasionally too, because he doesn't play young players, or he doesn't. I mean, he just won 4 championships, so you make sure you get rid of that guy. But Kyle Shanahan, like literally every football guy you talk to, every analyst you talk to, is like, this guy's incredible. This guy calls incredible plays. The team seems to love him, and I'm like, why would you get rid of one of the top coaches? But I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Because they found this guy. Brought him in. Him and Lynch have done great together. They haven't won the biggest one. They won some big ones. I mean, I contend that any playoff game you win's a big one. It's just not the biggest one, and he's 0-2 in that game. But I don't. I mean, I'm sure you're a Shanahan guy, and you're like, of course. Why in the world would you get rid of this guy?
It is frustrating to hear, I think, and my guess is he doesn't listen to it that much, but everybody else
At all.
certainly hears it, and it gets frustrating, and I understand it. Let's face it, we're a very impatient group of sports fans nowadays.
Yes.
Like everybody expects immediate satisfaction and everybody's team should be winning the Super Bowl, and if it's not, we've got to blame somebody, right? So it usually goes to the quarterback or the head coach. It goes to one or the other, typically, sometimes the owner. But it's hard because he does so many great things. And he puts guys in position to succeed, to be open. And what the other thing is that people don't account for is the 49ers have one hell of a locker room. And they have had that since he's been there. It wasn't always like that. But think about that. That's a serious intangible, I'd say, in today's game, because there's so many guys that are making so much money that selfishness starts to show up. There's not camaraderie. Guys are kind of on their own program. And for the most part, the 49ers locker room is very tight. And so that is a huge intangible when you got everybody healthy and playing well. But just managing personalities and people, guys like Kyle. And I don't know that the average fan that's saying, we got to get rid of him, understands that. And not every coach. And in fact, there are a lot of coaches that come in that can't handle managing a locker room.
So let's talk about this year, and I want to get to some broad NFL questions too, but this is what I said about last year's Niner team. I said, and I think at the end of the year, Brent, they were spiritually beaten, mentally beaten, physically beaten. They were just toast. And I think that was an accumulation of not just that year, but previous years going so far in the playoffs. And it was a goofy start to the year. Ayuk, Trent Williams, Christian McCaffrey, and then other injuries. It's just a mess. It never seemed to get on track last year. And I think finishing last does them a favor because now they get a last place schedule. And I know it's only 2-3 games, and people are like, well, it's only 2-3 games. I'm like, well, yeah, there's only 17 games in a season, right? If this was an NBA schedule, that'd be 10 games. That's pretty significant, 10 games. So you get to play 2 fourth-place teams, and everyone gets an extra month and a half to kind of get their body right. I think they're going to be super motivated next year. And while we said last year may have been like the last dance type deal, I think this year is kind of it. Like, I think you're refreshed, your fourth place schedule. You get a high draft pick, and you're going to get high draft picks in every subsequent round. Like, to me, this is the year to get it done because of all those factors I laid out. How do you see it?
I think it's a great call. It just felt miserable going through it last year. And when you were describing how the 49ers were at the end of the season, I was thinking you were describing me. I mean, I was physically, emotionally, I was spent. Like I didn't want to talk about it. It's like, this is so frustrating. This is, but momentum is a real thing, and negative momentum obviously is a real thing. And you mentioned the 3 things that happened at first, and we couldn't have anybody stop the run. Then teams were game planning Fred Warner, and there was nobody else on defense. And Bosa was getting double teamed because nobody else was providing rush, and injuries every week, and pass protection, and we lost Ayuk, and then Debo decided to have an attitude instead of just going and playing and working on getting separation and catching the ball. It's tough to get a ball in the guy's hands when he can't catch. And so it just spiraled.
That's a good point, by the way. That's a very salient point.
It is
when you're gonna ask for the ball, make sure you can catch it.
Yes, please do. Don't ask and drop. But it was just one of those things where it was like inertia. All of a sudden, man, we couldn't pull it back. But I do think you're right, and I do really believe that this year is going to be instrumental. And they've set themselves up, like you said, they've got more rest. 6-11 felt horrible, but it's going to give you that much better of a draft pick in each round. I think this year's draft, they're going to have to nail it. And of course, you don't know if you do till sometimes it's a year or two, but I think we're going to have to grab a couple starters out of this year's draft. And sometimes when you're a good team, you say, hey, we got to have guys that we can develop into starters. But this year, I think we got to grab 2 or 3 guys that we can plug in and play right now at a fairly high level. So I believe it's setting up potentially great for him. I'm dying to know how McCaffrey is. I mean, that's going to be a big influencer one way or another.
Yeah.
Ayuk's going to come back. It's going to be tough for him to be a number one, in my opinion. Will he still be solid? Yes, I think so. But hopefully he's worked hard on his rehab and got his attitude on right. And so I think we're going to have some early season success and get on a little bit of a roll. We don't want that malaise of last year and last year's start to hang over this year, but we got a lot of time ahead of us.
Yeah. I think I'm going to bet the 49ers to win the Super Bowl next year.
That's not a bad bet at all.
Yeah, that's 50. I had him at, I think I told you, didn't I, that I had him at 45-1, the first Super Bowl they went in. They went to under Kyle. 45-1, I bet the Niners, 10-point lead, clank.
Man, I wouldn't want to have been anywhere near you.
No. I was actually over at Bergie's house watching that game. I was like, I think I punched Bergie in the back of the head.
I
so mad.
Sure would have. I'm just glad his TV survived.
I'm never gonna have that chance again.
You know what?
But no, I think it sets up well for them. Well, it's funny because everybody's like, "Oh, the Eagles are young. Eagles are this." I go, you don't take a team that just won a Super Bowl and put them to sleep for 3 or 4 months and then start them at the beginning. Everything changes. Like things change. The team is never the same. You've won enough Super Bowls, you know that. I mean, it's not. To think you're getting the same team is ludicrous.
It is ludicrous, and there's so many things that happen. And some guys have a chip on their shoulder. Some guys are fat and happy. Some guys got the new contract. Some guys didn't, and it evolves every year. And somebody's always distracted some way, shape, or form, and you don't have that same drive and desire. For whatever reason, there's a few new faces, and it just never works exactly the same way. Situations are different. There could be nagging injuries or real serious injuries, and you just don't know what you're going to get. And so that's why you take shots when you have the opportunity. And if you think about it, Tom, in all realistic measures, there's probably 6-7 teams that have a chance to win the Super Bowl next year. It'd be tough, to argue that many more have a real legitimate chance unless we see somebody, come from nowhere. But it's usually coming from that basket of teams that most people can identify at the beginning of the season.
All right, let me ask you a couple just NFL questions. Explain to me how a quarterback can win MVP and a different quarterback can win first team All-Pro. How is that possible?
I guess you got to check who's voting. It's become I kind of feel like sometimes
quite a quandary, isn't it?
It was. The narrative gets set one way or another, probably by week 10. It's interesting because you think about it. The NBA and Major League Baseball and hockey, their all-stars are all picked mid-season, right? So it's really how you start. It's your first half of the season. Now, I would argue that there's some players in the NFL that are all-stars that are all pro in the first 8 games, but man, they can fade in the next. And sometimes it feels like that narrative is starting to be set week 9 or 10 about who's going to be this, that, or the other thing. And sometimes those things hold on, and sometimes they go by the wayside. It is interesting. And as a fan, unless it's my guy and my team, I don't really care. Like, it is what it is.
It's just amazing to me, right? That Josh Allen's MVP, Lamar Jackson's first team All Pro. I'm like, no, wait a minute. Almost by definition, if you're a quarterback and you're the MVP, then you have to be first team.
You would
All
think.
Pro. Here's what I think happened. I think they didn't want to do co-MVPs. So what they did was, look, Josh hasn't won an MVP. Lamar's won 2. Let's give Josh the MVP, but Lamar deserves something because he had an incredible year. You could easily make the case Lamar Jackson should have been the MVP this year. You could go back and forth like, okay, Lamar had Derrick Henry. Josh Allen maybe had to carry a little bit more of the load, but then you look at the stats and they all favor Lamar for the most part. So I get it to where you're like, God, this is a tough one. But it just seemed weird to me that they just split the baby basically and said, like, okay, you haven't won once. We'll give you this, but you deserve some recognition. So we'll just give you this. And I'm with you. I really don't care that much. I just found it kind of entertaining that we have a quarterback that wins MVP and isn't even first team All Pro.
It's crazy. And you know, the weird thing is Lamar statistically had the best season, right? I think that we all know that. But last year he was probably 7th or 8th statistically, and he won it. Like I think Brock Purdy had more touchdown passes and more big plays and higher QBR and all those other things, except maybe he didn't have, you know, all the running touchdowns. But it wasn't as obvious. I you know, just from an average fan's perspective, it's tough unless you watch the game, because just looking at hard numbers, unless you're blowing somebody out, unless you've got 20 more touchdown passes, it starts to become hard to compare. You just don't, like you said, you don't see that with the quarterback position. Linemen or tight ends or whatever, you see that all the time. Hey, we'll take this guy this, and, you know, not MVP, but this guy's first team All Pro, this guy, but he didn't go to the Pro Bowl, or, you know, usually that doesn't happen, but there's always discrepancies. And believe it or not, everybody has their favorites, even journalists. And so
of course, I'm not
going to vote for that guy, or I want to definitely make sure this guy gets in. And I don't know, everybody has a little bias some way, shape, or form.
Okay, let me ask you, because you mentioned Pro Bowls, and we were talking about the NBA All-Star Game and how to fix it and make it watchable again. And I don't think that format was it. But basically, it's like, okay, the players have to want to play. They have to try. There's your fix. Anything else, I said, is rearranging chairs on the Hindenburg. Of course, somebody corrected me and goes, Tom, it's Titanic. I'm like, I know, okay. Just
were there chairs on the Hindenburg?
I'm sure there were. You got to sit down somewhere, don't you?
I think.
Yeah. During your day when you went to a Pro Bowl, did guys care about it?
You know what? They did. And it's funny. It's increasingly year after year, I kind of feel like it's become less important. Like the last year that I went was 95, so it would have been 96. It was starting to be less physical, and guys were more concerned about getting hurt. I got hurt in my second one. I
did you really?
Ankle. Oh, it was brutal. Yeah, Brett Favre. This is a great story. So during the week, it was Brett Favre's first Pro Bowl, and every wide receiver was complaining like a little biatch that Brett Favre was throwing the ball too hard. And seriously, like we'd get in a huddle and guys would be like, I don't want to get in the huddle with Favre, like during practice. So I'd sit next to him on the bus because, you know, Mike Holmgren now was coaching the Packers and our offenses were the same. We call stuff the same. And he's like, these guys are driving me freaking crazy. And like on Friday, he said, all right, you're the only guy that stood with me all week. He goes, when I get in the game, I'm going to throw every ball to you and you're going to be the MVP. And I was like, sweet, bro. That's what I need. I need that. So Troy Aikman plays kind of 3/4 of a quarter. The youngster plays a quarter. And here comes Brett Favre. First play, wham. He throws it to me like on a square out. And I turn upfield and a guy hits me and I break my ankle. And I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me. He said, "You're going to catch 20 passes." I'm like, "This is going to be the best."
Do you remember who hit you?
Yeah, huh?
Do you remember who hit you?
No, it was more the turf in that Hawaiian Aloha Stadium.
Oh,
Man.
aloha means goodbye.
Yes, it did.
And that's what happened to you. Goodbye from the game. Did you ever catch a ball?
Season, couldn't play golf, couldn't do anything. I had to rehab the whole off season. Screws in my ankle. It was the worst.
Oh, that is brutal.
But I just love that story because Brett Favre, he was absolutely fired up that everybody was yelling at him all week. Brett Favre, don't you have any touch? And he would be firing the ball, and it would just be breaking fingers.
Did you ever catch a ball from Steve in the Pro Bowl?
I have to think about that. Good question. Yeah, I think I did. That'd have been one more than he threw to me in the Super Bowl. No, that's true. He threw me a couple in the Super Bowl.
You're gonna have to take that out with him. I mean, I know a quarterback that actually threw the ball in the Super Bowl. I don't know if you want to get into that. But,
yeah. I don't want.
So what's the most physical thing you saw happen during one of your Pro Bowls?
You know what it was? It was what I'm trying to think of the player. Somebody got jacked up on a punt return. Nobody wanted to play special teams. Like, that's the worst. Like, every single guy in the Pro Bowl, other than the kickers and the punters and the snappers, didn't play special teams. So it was like, no, you go down, and somebody ran down. I think it was Eric Metcalf got just drilled.
Oh,
it was. And I remember thinking to myself, what are we doing? We're not trying to hurt each other out here.
Remember the highlight? I don't know if you remember it. This is after you played. Remember Sean Dawkins creamed a punter.
Yeah.
Just absolutely beheaded him. And I
saw that highlight last year. It was brutal.
It was like, wow. I mean, that's the thing. See, football, I've always thought football probably shouldn't have a Pro Bowl just because you guys put your body on the line. But basketball, it's not like I said, I'm not asking you to play at playoff intensity, but play like you're at the park. And if you lose, you leave the court. Winner stays on, loser leaves, and you have no idea how long you're going to wait until you get back on the court. Give me that intensity. That's all I want. Not lob three, get back on defense, not a chance in hell. What are we going to do now? Like, it just, no one wants to watch that because it doesn't. Oh, here's Sean Dawkins. Oh, this is, man. Oh, no. Look out. Oh, oh my God,
man. It's just
just disturbing. Like, what
are you doing,
down,
slide. Nice cutback.
Oh,
what? You got to give him credit for popping up.
Yeah, I mean, get down. What are you doing?
That's outstanding.
But that, I mean, like, that would never. Well, it wouldn't happen in the Pro Bowl today because it's not a Pro Bowl; it's a flag football game.
No, it's not.
And I don't watch any of that. I'm hoping. Please tell me you don't watch any flag football.
No, not yet. I haven't got that desperate.
Very good. All right, we're gonna before we go, and again, hopefully we'll have a chance to do this. I won't bug you too much, but I love talking to you, and plus I get to see you, and it's a picture, the Brent Jones picture behind you, the cowboy hat. What is that? A mini Lombardi over your right shoulder?
Mini Lombardi. My wife got it for me when I retired, but I actually got some real Lombardis.
You do? Oh,
see up there?
Oh, wow!
I had a guy just asking me about them.
Dude, that is incredible. What did it take me? Take me through the wall real quick. What do we got on the wall there?
Oh,
we have to. Yeah, give me a little tour, like a Brent Jones, like a museum tour.
All
almost.
Right. So here's something that is so significant. When I retired, my wife had a surprise retirement party for me. Jerry Rice got up, spoke, and gave me his 1,000th catch.
What?
The Hall of Fame called, and they were like, "You got to give that to us." I'm like, "Screw you guys, I'm keeping it." And there it is.
Wow.
That one's pretty good.
How cool is that?
One of my other favorite ones, and this guy.
By the way, I think you put it on the wrong shelf. It was up by the helmet.
Yeah, I'll figure it out.
Don't screw it up.
Get it by my
there you
baseball
go.
glove.
I don't want you to mess up your shelf on account of me.
I don't know if you could see up there. So my wife did all this stuff, but in the far right corner of your screen. Wait, where is that? Can you see?
I see
Chargers?
helmets. Cowboys, Falcons.
You see the Chargers helmet?
No, I don't see the Chargers helmet.
Wait a second, man. I'm all jacked up. I think it's right there.
Okay. Yeah. No, I got it. Yeah.
That's Junior Seau's helmet from Super Bowl year.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that one was pretty good. You stick around long enough, you get certain things. So I got this one about 5 years ago. It was on an auction site. I guess the Walsh family put these a lot of Bill stuff up on auction. I'm like, man, I can't have somebody else have Bill's first Super Bowl. So that one
is that what it is?
Yeah.
Wow.
So kind of wild.
That's super cool.
Got some helmets from Pro Bowls, stuff like that. Got my my old Pittsburgh my wife, before he died, ironically, because there's a Steelers helmet up there somewhere. And Chuck Noll wrote, "I'm glad I drafted you, Brent. Great career." Chuck Noll. He got it right before he died. I'm like, that's kind of cool that he kind of, because at the time I wasn't, I don't know if I was his favorite or vice versa. After I got in the car accident.
All right, let me ask you a few questions before you take off. Just a few goofy questions. Favorite cereal?
Favorite cereal?
Yep.
Oh, I had it last night. Frosted Mini Wheats.
Frosted Mini Wheats. You know, I used to eat Frosted Mini Wheats because they were low on cholesterol, or they're low on sodium, I think is what it was.
Oh, man. That's 100% the reason I love them.
Really?
No. I love them because they're frosted.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the regular Mini Wheats are garbage.
Oh, man.
Right?
That's like called shredded wheat, man. To get stuck in your throat, you could die.
Like paper. It's like just eating paper. Like it's like eating absolute paper. So you're a nighttime cereal guy too.
You know, sometimes I am. It's just it's every now and then, but I certainly was feeling it last night.
Yeah, I had a bowl a couple nights ago. A little different from the Frosted Mini Wheats. I went Cocoa Pebbles.
Oh man,
yeah, little Cocoa Pebbles.
I love the chocolatey pebbles.
No, you gotta love the chocolatey pebbles. Favorite sport growing up?
Ooh, it was baseball. You know, it's weird. I mean, I have an on and off love affair with baseball. I loved it so much. I love the old guys, but I've lost the connection to today's game. Maybe just because I haven't grown up and following the players, and it's more of a football thing for me. But
yeah,
man, I loved playing baseball, but it was once you're not playing, and once you don't know the guys, and once you kind of, once your local team isn't as good, you kind of lose the momentum.
Who was your favorite baseball player growing up? Who was your guy?
It was Johnny Bench.
Johnny Bench.
How about
Did you ever see the baseball bunch where he held like 9 baseballs in his hand?
Absolutely. I love the baseball bunch.
Incredible. Baseball bunch is awesome.
I loved it. When I was 7 years old, my mom had a friend that was dating Johnny Bench. Now I'm 7, and my mom got me an autograph ball. So he was a rookie of the year in 70 when I was 7, and that was the ball from that year. And at that point in time, I went from only knowing 2 players, actually 3. I didn't know them, but I knew of them. Willie Mays, Willie McCovey, and Bobby Bonds. And after that, I was a Johnny Bench fan. And then I became a catcher as well. And so this sounds horrible. I love the Giants, but I love the Reds as well. And most of the time the Reds were dominating.
God, I hated the Big Red Machine. I hated him. I was a Dodger fan until I was about 13, maybe 12, 13, and then I became an Angel fan. But God, it was always the Big Red Machine that was in the way. I mean, what a great team, right? Morgan,
Rose. I ended up meeting most of those guys, which was awesome.
You?
Yes, and one of my favorite stories. This is crazy. Dude, that's so great.
There it is.
He looks so young. I met him in an airport and sat and talked to him for 15 minutes. He was a great guy.
Was he?
My Pete Rose story. I was on Pete's radio show when we were in the Super Bowl in '89, and he probably doesn't remember.
Did he ask you, do you think you can cover?
No, but we're going there just a sec. So Dana and I are in Vegas. We're in Vegas like 10 years ago, and we're walking in through the mall, and then there's a big sign that says Pete Rose sign autographs. Like he's there probably for 6 months, but
yeah,
Pete Rose sign autographs. So we walk into the sports collectible store, and there's a line about 30 people, and I looked at Dana and I'm like, nah, I'm not going to wait in line. She's like, no, you need to do it. She's like, you grew up the biggest Reds fan, and Pete Rose was, one of your guys. And so I go, okay. So I went and I grabbed a hat instead of you can grab jerseys, bats, whatever. I'm like, okay, I'm going to grab a hat. So I wait in line, and like for a half an hour, get up to the front, and I go, Pete, he's signing, hey, what's your name? And I go, Pete, I was on your radio show back in 1989. He looks up and he goes, what's your name? And I go, Brent Jones. And he goes, are you effing kidding me? He stands up and he starts yelling. There's like 50 people in the store. You effing know who this is? This is fucking Brent Jones. Niners, 3 Super Bowls. And then he goes, I used to bet on you all the time. And I had tears in my eyes. And Dana's like in the corner, like, he's like, get this guy an effing jersey. Get him a bat. He's like, this one's on me. And he sat and talked to me. And like, he was going off for like 15 minutes. And I'm sure all the people in the store and the people in line were like, holy cow. And I walked out of the store, and Dana goes, that was one hell of a reception. And so
I used to bet on this effing guy all the time.
Yeah. I was like, are you kidding me?
That's so
God.
Good.
So loud.
Good.
So I was turning so red. I was like embarrassed, and he was going off. And he wouldn't let me go. You remember that playoff game? I had the over, and like
my gosh. All right, what's your favorite college memory? College, either football or non-football memory?
Oh my gosh. So I was a baseball player, and somehow, some way, I got a football scholarship. Okay. I was second string in high school, so you don't usually get a football scholarship. So I got it offered in July, where I thought I was going to go to USC to play baseball. Kind of in the last minute, fell through, and I'm like, oh, what am I going to do? Am I going to go to junior college? Santa Clara offered me a baseball football scholarship, and I'm like, man, that's kind of cool. I don't know why my high school coach, even though he didn't play me, stuck up for me. And Terry Malley, who was Pat Malley's son, told his dad I was all-league wide receiver, even though I played in 3 games. And so I go to Santa Clara, and my most vivid memory, Tom, and you will appreciate this, is I got to Santa Clara, and I looked around, and I was like, I just turned 18. I'm 6'3", probably $180, and I was playing with grown-ass men. Like, there were guys that had big beards and mustaches, guys that were twice the size as me. And I was like, man, I wonder if this football thing is such a good idea. And the second day I was there, they put us on a bus to Mare Island. And we stayed in the barracks and ate in the mess hall. And my roommate didn't show up. So I was all by myself. I didn't know anybody. And I had to practice twice a day and sleep in a military dorm and eat military food. And I wanted to quit immediately. So that was my greatest memory.
I'm glad you didn't go in a different direction, because I thought when you said you showed up, like, these guys were men. When you said they had big, I thought you were going to go in a different direction. I'm glad you didn't. No. So that I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay. The most bizarre locker room ritual. Like if somebody had like a superstition or something that was just kind of wild that maybe you can remember? Or maybe you had one. I don't know.
No, I'll tell you who. It was George Seifert. He had one, and he will come out at a certain time, maybe exactly 2 hours before kickoff, and he'd have his shoes on, and he'd do a little lap, and he'd do exactly the same movements. He'd walk down over here, down by the training table, turn left, come around over where the DBs kind of got dressed, and he'd come up, and he'd circle around this table. He had to do the circle because if he didn't do the circle, we'd probably lose. And then he'd come up the stairs. So Harris Barton and I one time said, let's set up obstacles so he can't do his regular course. And you could, like, here he comes out. So we set up a chair with shoulder pads, or we'd put a table where he usually walked. And you could tell he was annoyed. He came out of the coach's locker room and started walking and like almost bumped into the table and was kind of annoyed. You could just tell he's looking around, kind of pissed. Then he'd kind of walk around it, and he'd get to the shoulder pads sitting on a chair, and he'd kind of slide through it and go around. And he kind of made a makeshift way to do it. And we won that game. And I was like, dang, like, that didn't fluster him. Like, if he lost, he probably would have gone crazy. So the next week we're like, okay, we got to do something to him. We went in the coach's locker room. I mean, of course, this is serious stuff. And we stole his shoe, his coaching shoe. We're like, oh yeah, okay, let's see what he does.
No.
So he comes out of the locker room and he's doing his lap. He's got one shoe on and one off and one sock. And damned if he didn't walk around and do his same lap and do the stuff. And we're kind of like secretly watching. We're like, dang, that sucker. Like he's I figured he'd eventually get another shoe from the equipment guys. So I thought, okay, it's useless. Like, we're not going to be able to throw him off. But the next week, since we won by like 4 touchdowns, he had 2 shoes. He came out with one shoe on and one sock, and that's how he did it until we lost. Because he was like, okay, hey, going one shoe was the difference in the game. So he was the guy that always had the ritual. He used to blow on lifesavers 3 times before.
Did he?
He'd wear the same sweater. I'm like, you watch that thing?
Oh my gosh. Real quick, I'll give you the so my buddy, I don't know if you know Bergie. Bergie's both of our good friend Craig McMillan we played with at Arizona, and Craig's from Cloverdale, coaches at Santa Rosa. He's been up there like 20 plus years coaching junior college. He was my roommate in college. I love Craig. So we went down to Mexico during spring break, and we go down there and we slept. I slept on the beach, like literally under the car. I was like in a kind of a sleeping bag under the car, sand blowing all over the place. We didn't have a place to stay. It was brutal. So the next morning, right, you get up and they have these, I guess they're porta potties. They're not really porta potties like near the beach. It's just like 3-4 pieces of plywood stuck together, and then a piece of plywood in the middle of it with a hole cut in it. That's it.
That's like literally to me.
Yeah, that's all it is, right? So Craig, I always kidded Craig about this. So Craig walks in, and he walks in with 2 shoes, 2 socks, shorts, shirt, stays in there 15 minutes, comes out with shirt, shorts, 2 shoes, 1 sock.
I know where that's going.
And I go, bro, where did the other sock go? Where did the other sock go? Oh God, I still remember him walking out with 1 sock. All right. Favorite TV show you're watching right now?
Ooh, so we just finished Landman.
Oh, that was good, wasn't it?
That was good. And
Billy Bob's incredible.
I'm in Texas, and I know a couple oil guys, and I'm like, is it really like that? They're like, there are a lot of parts that are just like that. So I told my buddy, I said, I want a field trip to the oil field. I want to go. Like, he's like, what? Are you serious? I'm like, yeah, no, I want to go down there and, go to the Permian Basin and go like watch it all. He's like, what's wrong with you? I
How
think that
about the
would be
scene?
cool.
How about the scene in the first or second episode with his daughter?
Holy cow. Yeah,
Yeah, holy cow.
that daughter's out of control.
Yeah, just
I mean,
just a little bit.
Billy Bob is like the perfect guy to play that part. Like that was a good one.
No, that's a good show. All right, last one, last concert you went to.
Ooh, what concert? What did I go see? Now that I live in Texas, I do like some country music.
I bet you do.
We went and saw Luke Combs in Iowa last year.
I like Luke Combs.
And my wife got us like these VIP passes. It was at an IndyCar race in Iowa. And after the race, Luke Combs' concert comes on. And literally, we had these passes and we got down and we walked right on the stage. Like I was like he was dripping sweat on me. It was awesome. It was so much fun. He was sweating his butt off, but it was a great time. With a couple of Santa Clara football buddies and I went out there, and it was just like, man, I can't believe it was like Luke Combs came and played a concert for you, and they limited the amount of people that were there, so nobody was jamming on the stage. So I was just like, because most of the people were in the stands, but it felt like I had my own personal Luke Combs concert.
Wow. I mean, sometimes I do forget that you're filthy rich and you can do all those things.
Rich, we need.
Kidding me? You're like an oil guy. You're like,
my wife does a good job spending. We need the Doge to come out here and
Doge. Doge. What is wrong with you?
Just having some fun.
Doge. How often do you wear that cowboy hat behind you?
That one.
Yeah, go ahead and throw that thing on. I want to see what that thing looks like on you.
So I wear this one every once in a while, but my good ones are in the house. I got a black one.
That looks good. That looks good on you.
Down like this, so it's kind of close to your eyes.
Yeah, like I don't know if I could pull up a cowboy hat, but yeah,
you totally could. The cowboy boots are great too. You'd be.
I hate boots.
Oh, you'd be 6'10" in cowboy boots. It'd be awesome.
Well, that's what I need to be 6'10". Why would I want to do that?
I don't know. It sounds like
I don't need to be any taller. I don't need to be any taller. All right, brother. Well, I just want to say thank you so much. I appreciate you. I love the fact that you're able to do it and you're able to be the first guest, and hopefully we'll get a chance to do it again soon. It's so much fun talking to you, and hopefully the family, Dana, and everybody's doing well. All the grandkids doing well, I hope.
Oh, they're kicking some butt, baby.
Are they?
Yep. We got
the Purdy fan,
season.
right?
Huh?
The Brock Purdy fan.
Oh, Brock Purdy. So you know who else he loves?
Who?
My gosh. What's his face from the Celtics? Now I'm blanking.
Which one? Tatum, Brown?
He loves
Porzingis?
Tatum. And so he's 4.5, and he probably scores 8 points a game in his basketball. Every time he shoots and scores, he runs down the court and he goes, just like Tatum. And my 7-year-old grandson, he'll bury a long shot. He's 7. Like they're still trying to figure it out, and he'll run down the court and go like this to the.
No, not the night. Come on.
Oh, he gives them night. It's I'm like, what's wrong with these knuckleheads? But they're hilarious. So they're playing NBA 2K on the PlayStation. I got them. They know every player. They got every jersey. It's like they're hilarious. That's what keeps me going. But Tommy, thank you so much.
Yep.
It's such a pleasure to be on the first show, and I'm excited for you. So don't forget me.
No, you kidding me? At some point, you're going to go stop calling me. That's enough. I've had enough of you. Don't call me like every week to have. I
love the comments coming up too. That's really freaking cool.
You know what's going to be great is I look at it like when I started doing this, and we've just only been doing it for a couple of days now. After I got whacked at KMBR, I was like bored. I was like, I got nothing to do. Like there's a lot more hours in the day than I thought. So, you go out and go for a walk, maybe you prepare dinner, and then you realize like there's still 2 hours until the next game. Like and it's a Wizards game. This sucks.
It's
this
a
is
long day.
Oh my gosh, it's a long day. So this is my way of just continuing to talk sports, and really a lot of it for me is getting a chance to talk to you, or getting a chance to talk to Steve, or the other Steve, or all the guys I got a chance to talk to and kind of cultivate relationships with when I was at KMBR. Like, I feel like it's weird. I feel like all of you guys, excluding Steve Kerr, because he actually is, my best friend, and I see one of my best friends, and I see him all the time. I don't see you guys that much, but I still feel like we're really close, and we really have a great friendship, which is interesting since we hardly ever see each other, but we've talked to each other. So I wanted to that was a way for me to kind of keep that going as well.
Dude, I love it. It's going to be great. You're going to have a blast. You can go as long as you want. You can go down. It's nice to have extra time to, tell stories, because you know that you and your posse, we all have some freaking great stories that don't usually have time to get them on the air. So this is great.
You know what's great is, like, nobody says it's time to break. Nobody. If somebody were to come in here right now and say you got a break, I'd go, fuck you, is what I would say. I'd go, beat it. Get out of here. I can stay on as long as I want, and I can talk as long as I want, and I can stay up as late as I want. So I'm good to go. We'll tell Dan and the family that I said hi. Let's do this again soon, maybe around draft time, or maybe we'll get your famed Final Four picks again this year. No picking Texas Tech, although they'll be in the tournament. So tell everybody I said hi, and have a great rest of the day. And thank you so much for joining me, Brent. I really appreciate it. Love you, man.
Love you, brother. You do the same.
All right, Brent. Take it easy, man.
See you, Tommy.
See you. That was my buddy Brent Jones. I mean, he's just such a good dude. He really is. And you can let Lou in now. Lou's been trying to get in for an hour. It's like insane. It's like now she's gone. So it's like a horror movie on the outside of the door. It's just like scraping the door. Like I'm like, God, I don't know if I want to let you in now. Now I'm going to let her in, and now she's gone. So we'll leave the door open. Maybe one of the cats will roll through. But that's what I was hoping the show would turn into, just sitting around BSing with some of my friends. And it is crazy that Brent and I feel like we have a pretty close friendship, but we don't really see each other. I'd like to go down there during football season one year. Me and I mentioned Bergie a few times, and my buddy Steve Davidson. We go on these sports trips and go catch Niner games, and then go, maybe last year we saw Alabama, Wisconsin, and Texas, Michigan, and went to an Angel game in Minnesota. They played the Twins. So, just try to catch like a week where you can get 4 games and knock 4 games out. I'm kind of hoping one of these years it'll take us to Texas, and we'll do like maybe a, Angels Ranger game, or maybe the Niners will be down playing the Texans or the Cowboys. I'd love to see a game at UT. Go down there and catch one of those games, and you get the Astros as well. So I just, I love watching sports. I love going to sporting events, especially new places. So yeah, but I'd love to do it in Texas because then I get a chance to go see Brent. I'd love to maybe do something in St. Louis. Like Kirk Reeder, I talk to occasionally. Love that guy. He's a cool guy. There's just a bunch of guys that I've talked to from around the country that'd be fun to like pop in. It'd be great. Find out where they live and like just knock on their door and they don't expect me. That'd be incredible. Maybe that'll be a show. That's a lot of traveling though. That's a lot of like, hey, let's go here. Let's go halfway across the country to see this guy. Then they're gone. And that's like the end of the show. We end up doing a show from like Luby's or something, or at some roadside truck stop, Stuckey's. I think Stuckey's. I remember Stuckey's. We used to travel across country in a motorhome to go see my grandparents in Alabama. And I would lay in the back because the bed was always made in the back. I'd lay in the back, play All-Star Baseball. It's a game that had a spinner, and you'd spin it. And then there's Lou. And, it had Rod Carew, Babe Ruth, a all-time team, and like a early 80s, like all-star team, stuff like that. And I'd play that. But going back there, Stuckey's was like the thing. Stuckey's had like turquoise. I just remember Stuckey's being a big like, come get your turquoise. Like turquoise, turquoise at Stuckey's. You know what I want to do? Hey, stop. That's why you didn't come in earlier. You got to be better. Like Lou's not used to having other people in here when I'm doing the show. Like she's good with me just being in here, but she's gonna pull a wire here in a second. But you know what I want to get? And by the way, for those that wonder, every once in a while I look over to my right, Max and Daniel is sitting over to the right, and Lou's like, "Hey, can you just lift me up?" Hey, Lulu, come here, come here. We're gonna put you back out. You're not gonna stay in here and mess everything up. Come here. Stay. Sit. Okay. We're just about done. But you know what I want to do? I got to find it online. I want to one of these shows. I want to play a simulated game on the electric football field. And there's got to be one out there somewhere that I can buy. And for those that know what I'm talking about, it's 11-on-11 football, and you hit a clicker, and the field just starts vibrating. It's like electric football. And maybe you could pop it up, Max. I don't know if they have a video of it or not, but I love that game. It was a stupid game. I mean, there's no strategy. You just like line them up. You can use different formations, do this, do that. Yeah, that's it. That's it right there. And like you can do like you can't even like you have no idea which way your dude's running. He could go the 40, the 30, the 20, the 10, the 20, the 30, the 40, the 50. Like he goes backwards and he's running all over the place. But this was it. I think I had the I think I had the Steelers and the Cowboy version of it. Like you literally cannot complete a pass. And I love the linemen. They have their elbows out, form blocking. I was like blocking. Remember the football cards back in the day? The offensive linemen used to have their elbows out. Like that was the form. And look at this. Oh, look at the lead block. Oh, he's going to cut. That's a crack. Oh, come on. That's a crack back. Let's go, ref. Put your head in the game. Then that's the button. So you just hit the button and the field just starts shaking. And that's even better than the one I used to have. The one I used to have, that it didn't even look that good. And that looks like what Falcons Patriots is what it is. And I think if you just touched the guy, he was down. Because obviously you're not tackling. And no one's falling over. But it was just wild. Look at that dude fall down. Oh, look at him. He's having a spasm. Somebody get that dude some medical attention. Rewind that. I want to see that guy again. He just like falls down. Like that dude had a heart attack. We go rewind it. I want to see how he fell down. He just fell. Here he goes. What a spaz. Look at that dude. Teammate didn't even pay any attention. He just ran right over his head too. He's like, get out of my way, fool. What are you doing? I'm done. So yeah, like right now you're watching it. You can't even tell who's on offense, who's on defense. It's just like a bunch of players like just running around or like vibrating around, doing what they're doing. So I wanted to get that. And completing passes is stupid. The whole game's stupid. But it's like nostalgic stupid. Like I didn't know it was stupid. Well, I kind of did when I was like 8, but it was the best. Like I love games like that, like just sports games, and just the fact that it was authentic and it had the real uniforms and the real players, like the numbers you could put on there. I don't know if these guys have numbers or not, but they used to have like the numbers that you would have to put on yourself, each individual player. But maybe I'll get that. Maybe that's what I'll do. Maybe I'll get some of the old games. I could find them that I used to play when I was younger. And we can play them for like a segment of the show or just kind of screw around. I know Stratomatic is a big one. Again, I played All-Star Baseball, which again had the spinner. You just spun it, and whatever number it landed on, that corresponded to single, double, out, ground out, line out, whatever it was. And go back to Alabama. I'd have this big notebook full of stats. I would keep box scores for every single game, and that's how I would pass the time. And that and going to Stuckey's. I think they had like maple logs too, something like that. Not sure exactly what it was. So are we done? I think we're done, aren't we? I think you're done. Go see what that bunny's doing outside. You're kind of a nuisance. You've been kind of a nuisance today. You were at the door, just hanging you wouldn't stop. And then by the time we opened it, then you were gone. Where'd you go? Really? Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. You think you're pretty cute, don't you? Because you are pretty cute. She's 9. Lulu. This is the one that I go, she walks with me and hangs out with me at night, like when I'm watching TV. She's the one that lays next to me. And that's my girl right there. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I don't, just because I say you're my girl doesn't mean I want you to kiss me. All right. Now there's no chance she's actually be sane when I put her down. So, all right, we're gonna be back Friday. It'll be more like the Monday show. Like the plan is to do an interview once a week, but we could do it twice. Just kind of depends. If we get somebody that says, "Hey, I'd like to come on Friday," then yeah, we'll have somebody on Friday. It's just going to be loose, and whatever works for us, hopefully works for you. So, all right. Hope everybody has a great Wednesday. Enjoy. I would say watch. I don't even know what the hell's on TV tonight. Warriors are off. I didn't get a chance to talk about that game. I didn't talk about last night's game because, well, it wasn't a game. That was one of the worst lineups I've seen like ever in my time of doing the NBA. That Hornet lineup was just, and I don't want to denigrate the players because they're trying, they're young, but oof, wow, that was a rotten lineup. That really was. So we'll get into the Warriors, obviously, a little bit more. And, I love basketball, so we'll talk basketball the closer we get to the playoffs. Probably have some guests on for March Madness because I don't watch as much college basketball as I used to. So, all right, everybody have a great rest of your Wednesday, and we'll see you again on Friday. See you.